It's time to talk about the 2024 Cubs pen. Spoiler alert, wasn't very good.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans taking our passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making us your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, like the video, and comment anything below. Today's episode is presented by Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. All right, later in the show, we get to Trivia Tuesday, which is always a good time. Also, some breaking Cubs news on Monday with Nico Hoerner getting surgery. And we're going to start with grading the bullpen, as the Cubs bullpen performance was the first sign, in my opinion, that the 2024 season was going to be a roller coaster. When the Cubs started 17-9, they lost 4 of those first 26, in which they either led or tied entering the 9th inning. That was only the start. It was a nightmarish situation in May and June. They finished the whole year with 33 blown leads, 26 blown saves, despite a 3.81 ERA, which ranked 11th best in baseball and 6th in the National League. Sam?
Well, this is where I hope this is what you just laid out is exactly the point that I try and make sometimes. Right. Certain stats, if you just look at ERA, it looks like it was kind of an above average bullpen. But if you're
even a good season.
And you know, since late June, I bet you that ERA was probably in the top 2 or 3, and all these different metrics to try and say it was good. It wasn't good. The bullpen's job is when the team is leading late to shut the door and win baseball games, and they didn't do that. And just because it was better from June on, in my opinion, the damage was already done. And in lieu with the awful offense in May and June, the Cubs also had close games that they couldn't figure out a way to win. It was a combination. For that reason, I give the bullpen grade a D. I don't think that's harsh. The only reason I wouldn't give it an F is because of Porter Hodge, Jorge Lopez, and Tyson Miller. Those guys were awesome. But again, like we've said, this continued theme, the damage was already done once those guys came in and cleaned it up. If the bullpen was just a little bit better, and Jed, to his credit, even took full responsibility of this in his postseason press conference. There was no depth. They couldn't figure out when Merriweather went down. Alzolay couldn't get anybody out. Then he went down, and Neris was, I think it's safe to say, a bust of a signing. You add all that together, and you had 26 blown saves. We say it all the time. If you have 18, who knows if you're still playing?
Exactly.
And so just because the ERA was good, I don't care. Like, it doesn't bother me.
What about 20?
Doesn't bother me when the bullpen comes in and we're down 4-2 and it becomes 7-2. But it bothers me when it's 4-3 late in St. Louis, in Milwaukee, and you lose a game with 1 out to go or 2 outs to go. How many times? Those are momentum killers. They feel like 2 losses, 3 losses, 4 losses. In San Diego early, 2 Giants games off the top of my head. They were just soul-crushing losses, and a lot of that was due to the bullpen. It wasn't a good unit, but Porter Hodge was obviously a major high point of it.
Yeah, he was, and I definitely want to single him out later. But I have to give this group an absolute F grade.
Okay.
And they went 44-31 from July 4th on, whatever it was.
I love doing this show.
I have to admit, I don't remember what it was now. I always like going back to July 4th, but I don't remember exactly what their record was from that point on. But it was good. But it didn't matter. And everyone likes to do like the 50% thing. Like, oh, they blew 26 leads. What if they just blew 13? What if they just blew 6?
Right.
20 blown saves, not 26. They might be in the postseason. So, yeah, Hodge, Lopez, and Miller were bright spots, especially Hodge. But to damage the season like you did that first 90 games it proved to be insurmountable.
Yeah.
And really the first 88, I guess you could maybe just round it down a little bit to 80, but it felt like it was closer to 90. But shoot, even in that, 17-9 start, but for the 9 losses, you felt like you could have won. It just
should have
started off bad.
Yeah, of course. And
especially that Saturday game, you did the wash along. That should have been a win. They entered with 3 outs to go with the lead. They lost.
Do you remember who hit the homer off Owsley that day? Brian De La Cruz.
Oh boy.
That was the game where Canario hit instead of Bellinger.
Right.
Injuries were a part of it.
A lot of guys got hurt.
Merriweather goes down. Who knows if Owsley was fully healthy? I thought Luke Little was coming around real nicely. I thought he was starting to find a groove. And then he gets hurt. I think it was in St. Louis when he got hurt. There's a lot to be excited about with the potential of Hodge. Little comes back healthy. Brown, maybe Wicks goes there. Who knows what they do with Horton? But here's the thing. Those guys were not really in super consideration at the beginning of the year. It was Merriweather, Owsley, Neris, Leiter. Those were your big 4 late. And Leiter had some bright spots, but it wasn't good enough. To me, when it comes to bullpen, I don't really care as much about ERA as I do just and I know there's no stat for this, folks. I know. Games that you should win, how many of them do you get? That's what it comes down to for a bullpen for me. Yeah. And I get it. There's other times where it's like, hey, we were down 4-2. The bullpen held them there and allowed for our comeback. I get it. That's part of it too. But the big thing for me when I evaluate a bullpen is just, hey, we're up after the seventh inning. How many games are we going to win out of those? It's got to be in the 90s. It's got to be not. You're up after 7. Excuse me. Every 10 of those games, you got to win at least 9 of them, and that wasn't the case this year.
Hodge, Lopez, and Miller were the bright spots, and 2 of those 3 at least will be back in 2025 if the Cubs want them to be. Lopez is a free agent, but if the Cubs are willing to go 2 years, my guess is he would return and maybe even be one of the first guys off the board in the entire offseason, maybe just in a couple weeks. In his rookie year, Hodge posted a 1.88 ERA with 52 strikeouts to 19 walks in 43 innings and allowed only 2 runs on 7 hits in his final 20 innings. As I watch the playoffs, Sam, I'm wondering, okay, as baseball makes this shift to maybe developing relievers and not paying them a huge price tag like the Dodgers and Yankees have done, maybe Hodge and Miller and others could become guys, and you don't have to make that big investment. It seems like Hoyer's deterred from making that investment anyway. But
right.
But if they stay on this trail, I do think that could produce a lot of fruit.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've said it many times. I think the best indicator of your organization is how you build your bullpen. That's where you have the most hands-on approach. You have the most say. You're not going to go spend money. How do you develop these guys? I think they're headed in a good direction, but unfortunately it came far too late in 2024.
So I have a list of names here of players that appeared out of the bullpen for the Cubs. Do you want to do a game on the fly, or do you want me to list them?
No, you list them.
Okay.
This
is in order of games pitched. Smiley. Here, count these for me.
Okay.
Smiley.
Yep.
Miller. Neris. Hodge. Leiter. Little. Wisniewski. Thompson. Lopez. Roberts. Pearson. Alzolay, Almonte, Brewer, Brown, Merriweather, Palencia, Quas, Armstrong, Lovelady, Neely, Wingenter, Biggie, Tinoco, Hollowell, and Paredes.
I've lost count. I think like 26 guys. That sound right?
Wow.
I was just looking at this stat here while you were talking. The Cubs, there was an article, I want to just make sure I get it right, is Chicago Cubs
26, yeah.
Essays by Al Yalen, Bleed Cubby Blue. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And it was something like when they were 37-42, if all the games ended after 7 innings, they would be like, like 30 games over 500 or something crazy like that.
Jeez, man.
No,
that's how it was.
So
And
listen to this. At the time of that, there was an 11-game stretch early when games were tied after 7. They were 2-9.
What?
Yeah, during that beginning stretch there.
Oh. That was through like June at that point, right? Or through May? What was that point?
Yeah, the 30 games over 500 was an exaggeration, but it was literally like if every game ended after 7 at that point, they would be, probably
That's crazy, man.
Probably 7, 8, 9 games better, maybe even more.
That's an F grade. So coming up next, Nico Hoerner got surgery about 10 days ago. We give you the details. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Whether it's a Cubs game, a comedy show, or a concert, I love going to live events. And now Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets with killer last-minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. The experience of searching for and then buying tickets on Game Time is simple. Plus, Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it?
It's game time.
The Cubs announced Monday that Nico Hoerner had flexor tendon surgery on October 11th. The flexor tendon allows you to bend and use your fingers and thumb. Hoerner did get hit by a pitch on the right hand way back in early June. It wasn't announced whether this surgery was backdated that far, but one can surmise this. Not sure if that's the right word. Let me look into that. But Sam, I remember talking about these dudes being stubborn, playing through injury.
Yeah.
Dansby Swanson did the same thing, at least 2 weeks with an injured knee. And I thought we would get an October email about a minor operation to clean that knee out. Maybe we still do, but the Hoerner surgery, it wasn't out of the blue for me.
No, you had that for a while. This one doesn't bother me too much because I didn't feel like with my eyes watching he was compromised. And it is fairly common. Bumps and bruises. Hey, let's get through the season. We'll take care of it in the offseason. Mm-hmm. The Dansby one, which came up in a Sahadev Sharma article where he was, really compromised for a couple of weeks. That one bothered me because it was obvious and he was hurting the team while he was playing. And here's what bothers me about that is like, it's one of those things where it's, and this applies to Hoerner too. It's like, well, you know what? We don't have any middle infield guys that we feel like we could replace because so we got to force those guys. Well, then that's Jed's fault. That means the depth of the team isn't good enough. If you have to get guys to play injured or compromised because you don't feel like if you move Nico to short for Dansby and then you don't want to have Mastro or Madrigal's down, that means the roster is just not deep enough because I really felt like Dansby could have really benefited from like a month off and he would have come back a different guy. I think the Nico situation was a little bit different, but I'll say this about Nico. It's too hard for me to speculate about his swing, but I think we all could speculate. And I'm not a doctor. I don't know if flexor has anything to do with throwing, but man, was he throwing soft on those double plays. Like those 6-4 threes where he was on the turn. I mean, he never really cut it loose. So wow. Listen, I hope those guys get healthy. It's not their responsibility to sit out. It's the trainers. They're gamers. Okay. They're professionals. I don't expect Nico Hoerner, Dansby Swanson ever to say, "Hey guys, please shut me down." They're trained. They're mentally to play if they can play. So I hope they get right. And if Nico is a Chicago Cub next year, maybe this will give him, maybe that's why his pop was missing a little bit. Who knows?
Yeah, and if you look at just the calendar flow of the season, whatever happened after he got hit, as it started to heal naturally, he got better. But in the short term of that injury, he was really bad. He finished June hitting 230 with just one extra base hit.
Yeah.
And then he went up every month, including in the last 24 games. He hit over 350.
Yeah, it reminds me.
There's evidence to support that these guys were bad while injured or just injured, especially those two, Hoerner and Swanson.
This happened with Zobrist in 17 with his wrist. Okay. This happened with Bryant in 18 with his shoulder. Remember the whole two-handed finish thing with Bryant, where he started swinging there? The Cubs have a history of this where they don't IL guys in a timely fashion, and it hurts them. There's certain guys where I get it, but with all due respect, and I really don't mean this disrespectfully, but the Cubs don't have any of those guys, right? Like right. If you have a guy that is like Juan Soto and he's playing 75% of Juan Soto is still better than a lot of Cubs. Right. 75% of Dansby or Nico shouldn't be better than a lot of Cubs. And if it is, it's a roster problem.
Sure.
That makes sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. And I'm just trying to process this because, I guess part of me does go to the player first, but I could be persuaded, and I get what you're saying.
I'm never going to get on a player for forcing himself to play.
Because that's just what they do, right?
That's just like, we're competitors, man. I'm a player. That wasn't smart. But they're competitors. They've been playing this game for a long time. They feel invincible. That's why they became big leaguers, right? They're one of how many big leaguers in the world? That's why you pay a lot of money to trainers. You pay a lot of money to docs. You pay a lot of money to managers to take the decision out of their head. It's like when John Lackey was a Cub and he wanted to finish every game, right? Joe Mann's going to come out and say, hey, man, I appreciate that, but I'm not going to listen to you. I'm the skipper here. You're going to go take a seat. Nice job today. And then he does.
Yeah. Yeah, Dansby Swanson hit 155 in his 17 games in May and committed 4 of his 5 errors in May. It's like, well, because I remember thinking like, oh, he's starting to get bad. No. Thankfully, it proved out that he's not just like, he's horrible now. And he had a right knee sprain, and he played every day.
And there is nuance and complex things with this, right? Like, number one, the Cubs were going through a lot of injuries during that time. So they probably were like, hey,
Seiya and Bellinger.
Yeah, we really can't afford to lose Dansby, okay? Right. And then there is a leadership part of it where it's like, hey, part of the game of baseball is playing banged up. If I bet you Dansby would tell you if he were on the show, hey, if I'm out there, judge me playing the way I'm supposed to play. I didn't hit well. It didn't have anything to do with the knee,
Right.
So there's nuance to it. I just think we have enough proof now over the last, 7 years that the Cubs just aren't great with the timing of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And it needs to be a little bit sharper, maybe get a little bit more depth so you could afford to put a guy in the IL. But it's tricky because I do respect hey, I'm going to play through this. I want to help the team.
So what's one idea to do that? My first one would be to sign a veteran middle infielder.
Yeah, I think depth.
And he knows that he's a bench player.
I think depth. I think, with all due respect, if you had a little bit better of a situation than Mastro and Madrigal.
Exactly.
It's easier to do that. I think it's depth. I also think it's, Craig has got to kind of say, hey, I'm just going to put my foot down here.
Mm-hmm.
And go through that. But here's the thing. This wouldn't be a story if during that stretch he hit 255 instead of 155. So there's also an element of, hey, was it directly the knee or whatever? It's a complicated thing. I just think the Cubs could do a little bit better of it. On their list of issues, I wouldn't even put it in the top 10. But it's, when you see that and then you go, oh, all right. It's kind of like, all right, well, I guess that makes sense.
Coming up next, Trivia Tuesday. Stay tuned.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Folks, the Bears have a tricky FanDuel gambling situation this week. Star rookie Jaden Daniels hurt his ribs on Sunday, and we don't know yet. We don't know if he's going to play. Yeah. And in fact, I believe FanDuel is saying that he's not going to play.
Wow.
Because the current Bears line right now is Bears -3. I believe if Daniels was healthy, it'd be Washington probably by about 2, maybe 2.5. You know, so take that for what you will. I bet you if he gets announced out, it might go to Bears -3.5, even 4. But if Daniels plays, maybe that swings back in favor of Washington. Complicated situation. Watch that day to day. And by the way, if he is out and the Bears win, the Bears can't control that. They just got to beat who's in front of them. They'll have plenty of opportunities to play good teams. The Packers twice, Detroit twice, Minnesota twice. Just beat who's in front of you. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed, when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook.
All right, we finish up with a little trivia here on a Tuesday. Dansby Swanson was named the Gold Glove finalist last week. He won it last year.
Terrible with Gold Gloves.
Who was the last Cubs shortstop to win back-to-back Gold Glove awards?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It was. Did Baez do it?
Nope.
Yeah.
But he won the Gold Glove.
Yeah, I know that, but he didn't do back-to-back.
No.
And Russell didn't do back-to-back.
He didn't win it either.
Yeah. All right. Let me think. I'm bad with Gold Gloves.
Go Cubs.
Was it Sean Dunston?
No, he didn't actually win one, according to my research.
No, I'm bad.
Swanson, Baez, and 2 others are Cubs shortstops that have won the award. Period, and one of them won back to back.
Oh boy.
Older.
Yeah, it's not Banks.
He was the 3rd Gold Glove winner. So this 4th guy is the one who won back-to-back.
Yeah. Is it in Banks's era?
Yeah.
Is it like a Kessinger?
Exactly.
Don Kessinger, yeah.
Nice job.
Yeah.
Great job there.
It wasn't really a great job. I got the first 4 guesses wrong. Please don't patronize me on the show.
Stop saying good job.
Yeah, it would have been a great job if I went, let me think. Don Kessinger. That would have been a great job. I said Baez. I said Russell. I said Dunston. I said Banks. I got it on my 5th try.
Go Cubs.
So that's not a good job.
It's a bad take.
Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs.
Kessinger.
Sam, let's check my...
My dad always said he was a good defender.
Yeah, well, your dad's
Did Banks win a Gold Glove at short?
That's what I have here in front of me.
Good for him. What a player. Back-to-back MVP award.
Folks, the next time we see you, we're going to talk about Craig Counsell finally. Pending any breaking news on Tuesday. This is a big episode, right?
I think so.
It's a bad take.
Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs. You give us 20 to 30 minutes. We'll give you all things Cubs with.
It's a good show, guys. Come on.
Along the way. No, aren't we doing a nice job in the offseason?
Join in. Have some fun. We're having fun with this 83-win team.
Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube.
I'm going to preview the World Series for Friday.
2 years in a row. Smash the like button for the algorithm and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcast. I'm excited for the World Series.
Hey, I got a new catchphrase. Remember, it was increase the projections.
Oh yeah, you changed it.
Yeah, I got a new one. Where 83 and 79 happens.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.
It's a bad take.